Stand by 5 seconds.
Welcome to the 2025 Hudson Mayoral debate. My name is Mary Dempsey. I'm the editor of the Register-Star newspaper, and I'll be moderating the event. The debate is being hosted by the newspaper, which is part of the Daily Gazette News Group in Schenectady. This is the only mayoral debate that's being held before the November 4th election and early voting, which begins Saturday. Joining us on the stage are Democratic candidate for the mayoral position, Joseph Ferris, and Republican candidate on my left, Lloyd Ketting. Mayor Kamal Johnson, who is running on the Working Families Party line, declined an invitation to participate in the debate. Asking questions will be our reporter Sean Ness, on my right, and doing time will be our reporter Spencer Walsh, who's in the first row. The rules for the debate are as follows. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening and closing statement. Each candidate will answer a question first. They will have 1 minute to answer, as well as have the opportunity for a 45-second response to the other candidate's answer to the same question, if requested. This is available only to the candidate who answers the question first. If there is a follow-up question by the moderator, the candidates will answer the question in the same order and the same rules apply. We'll have during the opening and closing statements, the timer will indicate to the candidates when the time gets down to 1 minute, 30 seconds, and 10 seconds. In the event of excessive cross-talking between the candidates, the moderator will step in to address it.
Why are you looking at me?
In the event that any of the candidates interrupt or talk over another while they're responding to the question, that time will be added to the answering candidate's response time, and the moderator will intervene when necessary. Candidates are expected to practice proper decorum for the debate, such as speaking during their allotted time, not interrupting the other candidate while answering questions. So those are the rules of the debate. Let's get it going. Before we started, between the two candidates, they decided that Lloyd will be giving the first opening statement. So go ahead.
Hello. Just one thing here first. Joe? Lloyd. Lloyd Alden Ketting, but this is not about me. This is about you. This is about you. I want to talk to all of you here and throughout the galaxy. Is that too crazy, Joe? Throughout the hemisphere, the country, whatever zone, okay? So Lloyd Alden Ketting, I'm running for mayor. My original statement here, April 1st, and it's not a joke, and it's still true today. As mayor, I intend to be non-conventional in the most auspicious manner. If you need and want conventional, there certainly exists an abundance of the same old story candidates on the Democrat line and others. Call me a fool. Still, I believe the power of the people, the spirits actually, I'm refining this right now because I'm talking to more than just the people. Gotcha, Spencer. I believe the power of the people in our spirits, modifying that, resides in the heart and the spirit of each and every being. Your being expressing our innate abilities and grace will overcome the oppressive influences obscuring our good nature. In order to live in harmony, and I am part of the Harmony Party, Mary, you didn't say that, but I got more votes, not votes, but more signatures for the Harmony Party. We're down to 10 seconds. In order to live in harmony, we merely need to exhibit broadly and happily this our destined heritage. Let your light shine, your voice of reason, Lloyd Alden Kedding, and I'm here to get your vote and to get you doing your best to live with your heart and let your heart guide you.
Thank you, Candidate Kedding.
Thank you, Mary Dempsey.
You're welcome. Candidate Ferris?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Joe Ferris, and I am running to be the next mayor here in the city of Hudson. Standing in this auditorium with everyone here present and watching online, I can't help but think about something I heard repeatedly Saturday at the No Kings rally. This is what democracy looks like. This right here is what democracy looks like. The candidates who want your vote standing in front of you, answering your questions to earn your support. I am honored and privileged to be on this stage, and I'm honored to be the Democratic nominee for the position of mayor here in Hudson. I'm running because I believe that over the last 6 years, our city is adrift. We have an administration that is failing to do the big things like collect property taxes, the little things like paying the senior center utility bills, and then on top of that, failing to communicate a vision. I plan on bringing a strong vision to City Hall. This vision will focus on affordability because right now we have an ever worsening affordability crisis, both for homeowners and for renters. Additionally, I want to tackle our infrastructure issues. We have far too many dangerous intersections for a city that prides itself on being walkable. And on top of that, I want to bring a city planner on board to the City Hall staff so that we can actually implement a comprehensive plan successfully. I look forward to the next 90 or so minutes as an opportunity to share why I'm running, who I am, and why I hope to earn your vote, and thank you very much.
Sean Ness will now begin asking the questions, and the first question goes to Candidate Kedding.
What is your vision of Hudson, and what specific changes would you make in the city if you are elected?
So, my vision of Hudson is a little outlandish. Can you hear me? Is that good? Yeah, I'm thinking that we can lift our spirits and be the example for the rest of the world actually to come together. So, I've created the Harmony Party. It's about harmony. So, I'm all in. I'm all in harmony with you guys. We're separate, but we're together in harmony. But somehow, this confrontational, this like talking points, and then it winds up being, well, I'm not going to go there. It's just same old story. So I'm looking for us to go operate from our heart and let that guide us in each and every of our actions so that we can come together. Come together. That's my hope. That's my dream for the vision that Hudson can lead the rest of the world.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris, what is your vision of Hudson, and what specific changes would you make in the city if you are elected?
Yep. My vision for Hudson is a Hudson that is affordable for all. For those who have called Hudson home for generations, those who have lived here for decades, those who work here. I've heard far too many stories from people across this city, like volunteer firefighters, who are leaving Hudson because they can't afford to live here. So that's the vision. And to get to the kind of the meat of the question about what would I do is I would make sure that every aspect of city government is focused and targeted on addressing affordability, whether that is making sure that people who work here can actually live here, as well as having a proper long-term vision that makes sure that we are building the housing that we need at all income levels.
Thank you. Would you like a rebuttal?
All I gotta say is same old story. Same old sorry story. You've heard it, and you've heard it, and you've heard it again. So what do you get? No, we need actually to change from the core. from the heart. Our problem is not, well, it's for you. We all need to look at our own heart and how we treat one another. And I think the oppressive forces that have got everyone pushed down will succumb to heartfelt human warmth, believe it or not.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris, what would you change in the city government that the current administration is doing?
Great. I mean, I've already mentioned bringing on a city planner. I think that that is an important function, but the first order of business in terms of changing something that the current administration is doing is better collaboration with the county, better collaboration with our state elected officials. The fact that we have lost 11 Warren Street for another generation because we didn't have proper proactive engagement from City Hall is absolutely unacceptable. And then this past May, when we had both our state assembly member and our state senator reach out to the city council because we were about to forget to pass a resolution to renew our lodging tax, which brings in more than $500,000 a year. That is what I would prioritize, is making sure that city government is working with county government and state government.
Thank you. Candidate Keating?
Same old story the crow told me. It's the only one he knows.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris, would you like a rebuttal?
No, I will add that I think some of the sentiments that my opponent is expressing are admirable. The term is only 2 years.
Candidate Cutting, because the Dunn warehouse plan has gone back out to bid, how would you like to see that site developed?
Let it follow the process. There's a process that's going forward, and I'd like to say that any city official has much to do with it, but it has a lot to do with the developers. So whatever it has to do with what the developers bring forth, and maybe they can be guided. But I agree with Joe about the county. I've been going to the county meetings, and we can learn a lot from the county, because the county has overcome financial difficulties, and I was just at the audit, and there's no defects to speak of. So we're doing pretty good, but we're borrowing a whole lot of money. I don't mind borrowing money for like the sewer project. The sewer project is needed. So we spend money on something of value, yes. But other than that, I'll let that go at that.
Candidate Ferris.
Yeah. I think the warehouse is just another example of why we need somebody on City Hall staff who has a proper vision for what not only a specific project could be, but what the waterfront can be. And the waterfront is a much larger issue, but we need to have the ability to lay out a future-focused position on what one of our most valuable assets will be. Right now we are still debating for almost a decade what will or won't happen with Colarusso. It's an open question about what will happen with the 4.4 acres just south of the Colarusso facility that should be ours. I think the Dunn warehouse is indicative of just another failure by our current administration in terms of building for a future and just sitting on the sidelines and not getting involved until the last minute when things have fallen apart once again.
Candidate Cutting, would you like a rebuttal?
Blame, shame, regret. Look what the other guy did. It's the same old story. This is how the candidates get elected. They tell you what you want to hear. So Cicero's brother wrote a book. Tom, I still disagree with you. The book is How to Win an Election. So I was recommended that I read it. I got to the point where they said, promise them everything, anything that they want. And then when you can't deliver it, just say, well, oh well, I couldn't do it. Same old story.
I'd like to throw another question in,
Okay.
and you're the first to answer. What do you want to be developed down at the waterfront? What's your vision?
You know, I kind of like it the way it is. My vision, you know, if it were up to me, oh my goodness. First of all, I'd leave it the way it is. I mean, it's not so bad. I mean, do we have to like continually change and upgrade? My worry with someone new coming in that doesn't respect what's there and doesn't respect what's already in place, I mean, I think the city's doing pretty darn good. It isn't all that bad, you know? There's these issues that keep coming up. What would I like to see at the waterfront? I'd like to see peace. I know there's issues with Colarusso. I think they're good people. I think they mean well, they want to have a business. You know, so how do you get through that process where the people are okay with Colarusso? Colarusso performs a service that, you know, a lot of infrastructure was created by Colarusso.
Thank you. Candidate Ferris?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned earlier, the waterfront's not only our greatest asset, but with rising sea levels and climate change, it is also in some ways an existential threat to our community. And when I think about what the waterfront can be and what green space should be, is we need to implement as much green infrastructure as possible along our shoreline, so that not only do we protect against rising water and sea levels, but it also increases the park space. I think the fact that the plans to redevelop Henry Hudson Park that were presented to the planning board earlier this year are exceptional. They combine increased access to the waterfront as well as elements of design that will ensure nature can return and can protect us from rising sea levels. So for me, green infrastructure is the key when it comes to the waterfront.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris, Hudson has an affordable housing problem with 7% of students in the school district unhoused. How does the lack of affordable housing affect you?
I'm fortunate enough that on a personal level, it does not impact me. However, I work at Hunger Solutions New York as their government relations manager. We led the fight. We led the coalition alongside community food advocates to make New York the 9th state to create a free universal school breakfast and lunch program for all students, regardless of income, regardless of their ability to fill out the paperwork. The issue of affordability and tackling it, I think, is not defined by one's ability to rent somewhere or live somewhere. It's about caring about the issue. It's about knowing what the problems are and engaging the community in every way possible to implement the solutions that will push back against this crisis.
Candidate Cutting.
It looks like you have a cheering section here, Joe. So, Margaret, it'll take a little while, but Margaret, I do grow on people. I grew on Tom, and once you get to know me, you'll appreciate who I am. So, same old story, candidate. Now it's worse because now he's talking about, what, 503Cs? So the average salary at Hunger Solution is what, $93,000. $93,000, 17 of them, that's like $1.5 million. I think they took in $7.5 million, that's 20% at least. So some of these NGOs are really funnels to provide income for their friends. Joe, I'm glad you're a friend, but same old story.
I'd like to ask, how does the
Housing?
Yeah, how does the
Without the
housing
housing?
affect you?
Listen, I'm privileged. I left $81,000 25 years ago. How does it affect, as you probably know, I'm living in my van, but that's by choice. It's probably an ideal solution. I'm not stuck anywhere. If I want to go, pick myself and go. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have a lease. I'm free. How does it affect me? So I've experienced what it's like to be relatively poor. I could have been rich. I turned that away. I turned being rich away. I walked away from $81,000 25 years ago. Who does that? I went to work for something I believe in that actually helps people. And I made, I think, $6,000 that next year. So I followed my heart, and that led me to what I consider a better place.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris, would you like a rebuttal?
I think it's unfortunate that a candidate who's talking about harmony decides to spend some of his time at this debate besmirching the good people who are fighting to address hunger in this state. And that's the summation of my rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Candidate Ketting, what part of the city's population is most affected by the affordable housing crisis?
Now, that's an interesting question, because it spans a lot of different groups. You have workers. As a matter of fact, at last night's city council meeting, you were there, Margaret. Who else was there? I don't know who else was there. I don't see anyone else there that was there. But a worker who's been there for 3 years got up and spoke. Okay, Gary was moved by her talking. Costa, she's been here 3 years, and she's talking about how they can't afford. The workers can't afford. Now you have Section 8. You have issues there. I mean, it spans a whole array of people. You have people that own houses, okay, that all of a sudden now their assessment goes up. They can't afford, the taxes go up. I know someone, Miriam, she bought a house 25 years ago for $28,000. And she's older, and she's, retired, and so what happens with her taxes? There's a wide array, Mary, of people affected by the housing issues.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris.
Yeah, I think the first part of our community that comes to mind are the 22% of people who live in poverty. They are the ones who are struggling most dearly and in our economy and with rising housing prices. I recently was able to ride the shopper shuttle and for about 2 hours and spoke to many of the riders, and the struggles that the riders are having is that they don't have cars. So they're not spending money on their car payments, but the rents are already so high that they have no slack, that when their landlords decide to raise their rent by even $30 or $40 a month, they are then looking for other places to live, and those other places are not in Hudson. So the community becomes less strong. We lose a part of our community. So for me, the first that comes to mind is that 22% of our community, our neighbors who live in poverty.
Can I respond?
Yes.
Thank you. So, yeah, I've been on that shopping shuttle. I was doing it years ago, and I've rode it not all that frequently, but off and on. But Hudson is a microcosm amongst many different microcosms. So the issues that are coming to Hudson are actually pushed down from up above, and they come from all around oppressive. Kamal talks about greater neighborhood, and he talks about systemic oppression. And this is a real thing. And the way you're going to overcome systemic oppression is human, heartfelt consciousness. Because when we respond as human beings to these people, they will crumble.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris, what specifically will you put in place to make the city more affordable to live in? And what will you do to help the students and residents without housing?
I mean, the first thing we need to do is build. The quicker we build, the more housing will be online, so people will not be forced to leave our community. And that is all types of housing. You know, expediting the accessory dwelling units, finding ways and places to build duplexes and triplexes so that families can rent and aren't forced to be unhoused because they can't pay their bills. It's really about making sure all of our energy, and again, going back to working with the county, working with our state elected officials. I would love nothing more for this to be some sort of, there be a solution out there that was an overnight panacea, but we need to all work together, and that includes our other government elected officials, nonprofit entities, authorities, and by doing that, then we can actually make serious impact on addressing the issues we've been talking about.
Candidate Ketting.
You know, I seriously will need to study this further, because I need to know who these people are. I will admit, I don't have a firm grasp or handle on this, the numbers, the people. Yeah, maybe I would like to get to know them better. So this being the case, it's something I will endeavor to take a look at. In the meantime, same old story candidate keeps talking about working with the what do you call it, the politics, the people that have been running the show, you know, the operators, I call them advantagists, the ones that are in the political, the senators, the congressmen, all these people that are profiting, that don't really deliver. It's the don't really deliver part that is endemic. Same old story. Let's have some heart. Thank you.
Candidate Ferris, would you like to
Let's have
rebuttal?
some heart.
Thanks.
Candidate Ketting, where do you stand on developers turning the John L. Edwards Elementary School into affordable housing for seniors?
That's a step forward. When things are going well, you let them go well. Thank you, Penrose. Thank you, IDA. Thank you, Historic Preservation. Thank you, zoning. All these things had to happen, and it happened quick, because this was a good project. I'd like to see the rents lower, but $1,100, $1,300 in this environment, and it is for older people. So how can you not like that? I was against Mill. I think that in Mill they talked about not making it any worse. Peter, not making it any worse? No. We don't do that. We make things better. If we're not making things better, then what are we doing here? If we're not, you know, this community was founded by Quakers, and they worked together.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris.
Yep, I think it's an excellent project. I think it's also a great use of pilots, saying the school would not be on the tax rolls, and this is an excellent use of payment in lieu of taxes to ensure that these units can be affordable and can be affordable for seniors who are able to age in place. And I think it's an excellent blueprint of how quickly this process went from proposal to passage and approval that we can use in the coming years, and I'll be excited to work with Council President Morris and the new Common Council on projects like this over the next 2 years of my first term.
Candidate Ketting, would you like a rebuttal?
Same old story.
Candidate Ferris, do you approve of the Mill Street Affordable Housing Project? Why or why not?
Yep. I don't, and I think it's important to note that the mayor's comprehensive plan also wouldn't if you looked at its section on resilience. There are 2 key points that the comprehensive plan lays out. The first is that we should protect our flood basins. This is going to be built right on a flood basin. The second is that all new buildings and developments should be resilience-centered. As Mr. Keding mentioned, Mill Street developers have said that they won't make things worse, but they won't make things better. That fails the comprehensive plans test, and it fails my test for a project, especially a project that we're promising will be something of a silver bullet for people who are struggling with affordability. We need affordable housing. Mill Street just isn't the location for that specific project.
Thank you.
Candidate Keding.
He's right there. You're right, Joe. I mean, you got to call a spade, and that was a bad thing. And I don't know how it got so much attention, except this is a point about the developers, right? They had to, they had to be put in line, I guess, and it was just too crazy. So I'd like to bring us to a different place, because the only way we're going to, hey, Poison Ivy, the only way we're going to overcome this is by our human heartfelt consciousness. I want to take you to another place. This is not about me, not about Joe, not about Margaret, Peter. Thank you for being here. It's not about any one of us, but I want to talk to you. I want to talk to everyone in the audience, and I know this may sound crazy, call me a fool. I said that in my original press release. If you just beg off and have continued to ignore what's going on in the world, and don't use your, I'm going to say it again, your human, heartfelt conscious, your spiritual, divine energy, then you're going to get run over again by these multiple operations that are everywhere around, and then you're going to sit back and say, oh, well, look what happened to me. Ay.
Thank you. Would you like a rebuttal?
No, I think we're in agreement on the project.
Okay.
Absolutely, but I'll take it one step higher, human heartfelt consciousness.
Candidate Keding. With the recent resignation of the police commissioner, will you appoint a new commissioner, and why?
Absolutely. Yes, we need a police commissioner, because you know what? When the cat's away, the mice will play, and they're saying we don't need a police commissioner. Please, when you tell me that, I get more suspicious. I'm no fool. Oh, call me a fool, but I'm no fool.
Candidate Ferris.
I happen to agree with candidate Keding that the police department needs a commissioner, and I would appoint one. I also believe that fire department is a big enough volunteer department that they also should continue to have a commissioner. But I do think that there is an important conversation to be had in the new year about whether all of the other agencies that currently have commissioners necessarily need them. And I believe that we should take it on a case-by-case basis when it comes to the commissioners here in our city.
Well, there's a senior commissioner, right? But this is in the charter, and which I've become more interested in the charter reform aspects, just personally and otherwise, because a lot of this stuff is outdated. 1970. So am I personally on the housing thing? If I'm sleeping in my vehicle and I get an appearance ticket, you know what the fine is? $250 a day. You know what the other penalty is? They put you in jail. Not for a day or overnight. 15 days in jail. What are we? What are we? Where's your heart? Please, we're going to have to revise this, and we're going to have to come from another viewpoint, where we actually care.
Thank you. Would you like to? Sorry, go ahead.
Candidate Ferris. Will you direct the Hudson Police Department to cooperate with federal ICE agents and Homeland Security officials? If not, why not? If so, why?
No, I will not direct them to cooperate with ICE at all. Never. Hudson is a sanctuary city, and I intend to follow that law to its fullest extent. And I look forward to a day where we have a county sheriff who will also stand up against ICE. And that is the most important thing about this issue, is that we need to ensure that everyone in our community knows that they are protected and we have their back. So no to ICE, 100% in Hudson.
Candidate Ketting.
So I guess that means Joe is going to be guarding the doors. He's going to be chasing after federal officials. He's going to be scurrying them away. He's going to be fighting them. This is a complex issue. This has been a complex issue. This is over our...
Where's your heart?
Who said that? My heart's in the right place. My heart is here. I don't think what was done there was heart. It's a bigger issue. It's a way bigger issue than us. And it was done by forces above us. Hudson is just one community amongst many, a microcosm amongst many other similar microcosms that were subjected to this problem. So how do you have to, if you don't, if you don't figure out the source of the problem was those oppressive influences that brought the problem to bear on the world. So that's how you deal with it, and you deal with it with overcoming the oppressors, systematic oppression, as it says Kamal would say. And the only way you're going to do that is by showing them we have heart.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris, would you like a rebuttal?
Yeah, I didn't hear a yes or a no to the answer to the question.
So I'm not going to get personally involved. I could go, if I did that, Joe, would you do that? Actually stand there yourself. If you're not willing to stand there yourself, then I wouldn't ask anyone else to do it. And no, I am not willing to subject myself to being, prosecuted by the federal government. And I get it. This is a problem. This is a problem. But, you want to stand up to, like Biden says, you're going to fight us, so we got the F-35s. I mean, that's stupid. And I'm not stupid.
My answer is yes.
Thank you.
Candidate Ketting, is Hudson a sanctuary city? If so, will you officially declare it as such, and why? If not, why not?
That's been done already. That's not for me to decide. We're going to let everything play out. I mean, this is a common council thing, not the mayor. The mayor has I'm going to be honest with you. If you think the mayor has the capability of telling the common council, Margaret, are you going to let the mayor tell you what to do? The common council, itself has more power. Nothing really can happen here unless the common council forwards it. So that's not to absolve myself of any responsibility, but I do understand how things work. I'm not stupid. The reality is that things work in a very specific manner. And the common council kind of rules the show, rules the roost. And I'm pragmatic. I understand circumstances, and I work within the realm of what can be done practically. And that's just the facts of life. Get real.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris.
I mean, just to reiterate what I said, the answer would be, again, yes. And it's not only critically important to protect our community, it is also of the highest moral importance to make sure that everyone in our community knows that they are supported and that they will not be snatched off the streets. And I will do everything I can to protect the people that call Hudson home.
Except stand in the way directly.
I said yes. I said yes.
You will block the ICE agent.
Candidate Ferris, how will the city work with a newly elected sheriff?
I think the first thing with any, and this is an answer to any county elected official, because I too will be a new elected official, is to open up lines of communication immediately. That's before we're sworn in, to find out areas where we can work together and where the sheriff's office can work with HPD and where we can overlap and make sure that the services that are being provided are what are needed. I'm proud to support Jackie Salvatore as our next county sheriff. I think her focus on mental health, her focus on drug issues, and her commitment alongside me to standing up against ICE will make for a very strong and productive relationship between the city and the county sheriff's office.
Thank you.
Candidate Ketting.
So, September 18th, last September 18th was my 68th birthday. You know where I spent it? I spent it at the local cinema. There was this movie, A Good Person. Kamal was going there. Jackie was there. And they spoke. They spoke about the drug, epidemic, how people get hooked, on drugs and Oxycontin. And, listen, this society isn't ready for real answers because those people that, bring this down upon us, they create it, and we don't have the means of overcoming it. Thank you for correcting that, okay? We don't, unless we overcome it and recognize the real source of the problem. Now, I saw Jackie last Saturday at the laundromat, believe it or not, okay? So I communicate very well with Jackie. I also know the other candidate. So whoever gets elected, you have to work with pragmatically. And that's just the facts of life. And that's just maintaining civil discourse. So one of the key things, just from the way I was brought up and what my education is, the first thing you always do is maintain friendly relations.
Thank you.
Would you like a rebuttal?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Candidate Ketting. Do you believe undocumented migrants contribute to the Hudson community? If so, how? If not, why not?
I do believe they do. I mean, that's just a fact of life. Did I answer your question?
How?
Well, they work. Or the ones that work do. The ones that don't work and that, get hooked on drugs and do illegal things. Now, you have to bifurcate things. I mean, there is no one general, person, immigrant. I mean, the immigrants, they're probably the most patriotic. We have a problem here, like third, fourth generation Americans are probably less likely to contribute. Immigrants are wonderful people. They generally work hard. That's the history of immigrants. That's what America was built on.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Do you believe undocumented migrants contribute to the Hudson community? If so, how? If not, why not?
Yeah, 1,000%. They're part and parcel of our community, from whether or not they are working or they are our neighbors. They are. I'm honestly a little confounded by the question. I think this is 1,000% yes. They are part of our community, and they should be respected like any other neighbor we have here in Hudson.
Candidate Ketting, would you like a rebuttal?
What's the rebut? Same old story.
Candidate Ferris.
Yes.
What will you do to protect undocumented migrants in the city of Hudson?
I mean, it's exactly what I've laid out already, is that we will be a sanctuary city. We will follow that law to the fullest extent. I will make sure that everyone in HPD does the same thing, and that we are aligned with our county sheriff office to protect those who are under threat from ICE. Because as we've seen in cities across America, it's not just undocumented immigrants anymore. It is people that they are snatching off the street just because of their skin color. We need to make sure that ICE has no presence here, and that will be the focus there.
Candidate Ketting.
Did he really go there? Joe, I thought highly of you, more highly of you than that. Please. I'm a little baffled. Yeah, there's bad and good, and there's no one way of painting a whole group of people. We're all individuals here. And there's various shades of everything. Nothing is ever 1,000%. Let's just look at every situation realistically. No, I'm not going to have the chief of police go and, go and get in the way of people and put themselves at harm. Themselves, what are they going to do? Like actually fight with officers that are coming in here from another jurisdiction? How's that going to work? Where's that going to go? I mean, use your thinking brain.
Would you like a rebuttal?
Yeah, I would just point out that earlier this week, ProPublica reported that at least 170 American citizens have been snatched up by ICE. So beyond the people who they are targeting, our whole community would be at risk if we were not to stand up to ICE.
So that means I got to run away and hide?
Please, Candidate Kenning, wait until you're directed. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, Mary.
Candidate Ketting, what will you do to protect the LGBTQ plus residents with recent federal government policies attacking the community?
I'm confused. Aren't they a protected group?
Federal government is eroding it.
Okay. So I'm going to take on the federal government. I'm going to leave Joe to do that.
Candidate Ferris.
Yeah, before I get to that question, I kind of find it ironic that I'm being told that I'm the candidate with the same old song and dance, because if you've been listening for the last 45 minutes, I've failed to hear an answer and just a lot of evading. Now, in terms of protecting the LGBTQ community here in Hudson, the first thing I would do is go straight to Out Hudson and other organizations to listen to them, to hear how best I can protect them and how best City Hall can work to support them. A lot of times, the best first step in terms of working and protecting communities is to go to that community and say, what can I do? What do you need? And that is what I would do as mayor.
Can I respond?
Yes.
Joe, I think that's wonderful. So when I'm mayor, I'm going to appoint you the liaison for the LGBTQ community and let you go at it.
Candidate Ferris, what federal and/or state and county grants will you seek out to help the city, and how?
One of the things that I find most important, and I mentioned it in my opening statement, was about street safety and street design. When elected, one of the first things I will do is release a list of 10 of the most dangerous intersections in the city. I'm sure many of them will not be surprising, with the first one at the top of the list being the lovely little intersection by the hospital. And the key there is we can find short-term fixes by working with DPW to make those safer with crosswalk paint and daylighting, but then to go to our elected officials, our Assembly Member Barrett, our State Senator Hinchy, even Congressman Riley, to look and find for infrastructure funds that can make these types of projects and these types of improvements permanent and really show the city what can be done. And we can begin a process of making all of our intersections safer for people who walk, who bike, and even those who drive, because everyone's safety is at risk currently at these intersections.
Candidate Ketting.
So grants are very important. That's how municipalities get things done, largely. So the first thing I would do is get a handle on the existing grants. And that's a simple spreadsheet. I don't have to hire a city manager to go through the various grants that nobody seems to have a handle on. So I would sit down and take the time. I mean, Rob Perry, the sidewalk fund, and I would just make a spreadsheet. And I would use that simple tool. I mean, I program computers. It's not complex. I mean, I've done job costing. This is just a matter of keeping track. And so you keep track of what you got, and then you look and see what else you can get done. It's just a matter of like scouring the landscape, and they're out there. But first I would get what we have now under control so they're documented, because it's not. There's also a grant manager listed in the charter, a grant commissioner, I believe. Is that what it's called? So, yeah, grants are very important, and it would be a priority.
Candidate Ferris, would you like a rebuttal?
No, thanks.
All right, I'm going to throw a question in here. In the spirit of bipartisanship, which is the one issue in which you secretly agree on with your opponent? So you can go first.
Oh, wow, thank you. I think it's Lloyd. I think when I think about city government, I think about it's a commitment to being engaged and to being a participant in the process. And I can't think of anyone who is more engaged in our community and exemplifies that civic ideal than Lloyd, because he is somehow at every meeting. It is a gift that I wish I could unearth and discover, but I think that's a foundational, it's a bedrock thing about being a member of a community.
Thank you.
Candidate Keding.
It's simply a matter of showing up. I think what we all have in common, and I'm talking to you wonderful, wonderful people that make up this city. The thing we have in common is our love for the city, the wonderful beauty. I would start with an arts, and build out from there. I've really just started to find out how wonderful the arts are here. Arts, music, and I think it's really about love, and it's, to me, the blueprint I'm following and I'm proposing. It's very simple. It's nothing fancy. It's the Celestine prophecy, third insight, appreciate beauty. I think we can all agree on appreciating beauty, love. Once you appreciate beauty, love will appear, let it enter. Engage in the wonderful, vibrant, radiant energy.
Okay, but
Love.
what is one issue that you secretly agree with?
Secretly.
Right.
I think there's a lot that Joe and I agree with. I mean, when you look for differences, the sidewalks. He thinks he's going to micromanage the sidewalks. Well, it's going on already. There's a public works that's taking care of the sidewalks. So I'll work with the sidewalks. George.
Thank you.
Candidate Keding. As candidates who have moved to the city within the last 4 years,
Move where?
to the city of Hudson,
Candidates.
Yes.
Newly.
What
A new
challenge-
Hudsonite.
what challenges do you think you face in the election as relative newcomers to the area?
Understanding the different people. It's amazing because I walk around, I see the people, I engage with the people who've been here. Melissa works at CVS, who grew up here and rides the sled down, used to ride the sled down Warren, moved away, came back because she wanted her 3 kids to have the same kind of life that she had. You have the people there's so many different people, the artists, the business owners. The workers, the restaurant workers, I mean, this, you have to, what's that question again? I mean, come on.
What challenges do you think you face in the election as a relative newcomer to the city?
Yeah, becoming familiar with the wide diversity of people. The LGBTQ, they exist. I have no problem with them. I'm not going to create issues that don't exist. I mean, I like poison ivy just as much as everyone else, Mark.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris.
Yeah, I think, and this has been something that I thought about long and hard, even before I decided to get into the race, is that there is that reality of how long I've lived here, and it's about earning trust with the voters. And I think that I have spent a lot of time talking to voters in that process, and I also recognize that, look, there will be a not insignificant number of people that, if I win, have not voted for me, and I want to spend my next 2 years as mayor earning that trust, showing them that I am also their neighbor and that I am working as the mayor of Hudson for everyone in this community, regardless of if you have been here for a few weeks and you just moved here, or if your family has been here for generations and you have ties to the whaling industry. For me, if you live in Hudson, you are my neighbor.
Thank you. Rebuttal?
Very slick. I love you, Joe. I love you, but you've been practicing. Very slick. That came off very nice. How you hit those talking points. So let's go back to Cicero's brother, who wrote the book, How to Win Elections. Talk slick, promise them everything, even things you can't possibly do. And then, when you can't do it, oh, well, I couldn't do it. It's the other guy's fault. It's never the other guy's fault. If we fail, it's because your spirit, your heart did not rise to the occasion, and you know it's a spiritual war. I'm going to go somewhere. You may not be ready to go, but it's about everybody allowing all this to happen. This doesn't happen by accident. Society has been degraded into dismay and despair, and it was deliberately done by a group of people that just want to take advantage of people. And I, for one, don't want to stand for it anymore.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris. How will you specifically respond to federal funding cuts in the city budget?
Yeah, and that gets back to the importance of having strong working relationships with our county, our state, and our federal elected officials, from assembly members to state senators to the governor's office. Look, this year's executive budget is going to be bad. There's no doubt about it. So what the key is going to be is to be pounding the pavement, knocking on doors, making sure that the decision makers at the Capitol know what is going to happen here in Hudson. Because yes, I have worked at an anti-hunger nonprofit, but what I've learned from that experience in the Capitol is that if they don't hear from you, they don't think it's an issue. So we need to be as loud as possible about what these cuts will do to our community and to our city and our future. So that would be what I would do as mayor on that front.
Candidate Keding.
Smooth talking, Joe. Same old story. You know, when you get into the nitty-gritty, nuts and bolts, these are today. The police department, the, what's it called? The non-departmental, you know, we have a cemetery fund, we have a cemetery group, we have water. So, Sean, when you asked me that question, specifically, where are we having less money? Because when I go to these meetings, they have the money. So is this a canard? What issue? You're going to have to inform me, because I don't see it. I've been going to the meetings. I don't see what you're describing. So I'm not going to chase after a false problem.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris, would you like a rebuttal?
Yeah, I'll just add that this is not a canard, that House Resolution 1, the quote-unquote big, beautiful bill, is going to cut trillions and trillions of dollars. The federal government is unilaterally taking money from cities and states. So this is a real issue. It might not be in the spreadsheet that you printed out, but it's going to be a problem, and we need to do more than just claim someone's smooth talking and actually focus on what a strategy will be.
So I didn't print these out. I just would like to clarify one thing. I did not print this out.
Thank you.
No, hold on. This came from the budget, estimations, and apportionments.
Candidate Getting,
Thank you.
as a major real estate stakeholder in the city, what do you think Galvin's role is in the city of Hudson?
Now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. Their role, they claim they're leaving. They've done some things, and they've done some other things. So I don't know how to balance it. Now, I don't know if this is going to work, but this is a strange idea. So I kind of think Galvin should have just given the property to the city, not Bard. So you think this will work, Joe? I haven't thrown this by anybody. I haven't passed this by anybody. But, you know, what if we would offer Galvin indemnification for anything they may have done wrong if they would simply just transfer the properties to the city and then let the city deal with it? Now, that's thinking outside the box.
Thank you.
I think in a city with a $20 million budget, given the holdings that Galvin has and that Galvin is reportedly going to be giving Bard, I think that idea probably, well, for me, would be a non-starter at this point, unless the numbers come back and are somehow absolutely, we can't say no to this. Look, let's presume, I'm going to answer this question presuming that the Bard-Galvin deal goes through. And this represents a unique opportunity for the city of Hudson to build a relationship with what most likely is, if not the largest, one of the largest property owners in our city. This could be part of the solution to our affordable housing crisis. All of these properties that Galvin has not been putting online, this is an opportunity to get those online, and if Bard decides to sell some of them, those properties will also go back on the tax rolls for the first time in decades. So I think we need to hold strong and work collaboratively in a way that benefits Hudson the most when we engage with Bard.
So in August, I wrote a letter to Leon. And in that letter, hopefully I inspired him. Did you get that, Peter? Did you see the letter? Yeah, it didn't get a lot of play. I did send it to Gossip. I don't think it got a lot of play. But in that letter, I asked Leon to engage with the city and to help us with, they do some educational programs about civic, how would you say that? Civic, being good civil, civic people. And I asked them, what metrics would you use to see that the people in the city are actually benefiting from what's happening or, enjoying a better lifestyle? What metrics? So I asked Leon, this is his, the school, this is supposedly what they do.
You're going to have to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris.
Yeah.
What would you like to see Bard do with any Galvin properties it receives in both the near and far future?
Yeah. I think it's a great question. I think it's a question that, in terms of answering in detail is a little hard because at this point we don't know exactly what properties will be transferred and what the status of those properties are. But in the short term, we should be doing everything to get these properties online. Like I mentioned earlier, I think it's important for us to take these unoccupied, these vacant buildings that could be units and get them online. Now, there is a question of, do we work with potential land banks or the Columbia County Economic Development Committee or other housing nonprofits to find a way to make sure that we can set aside as much of these properties and these units as possible for affordable housing so that we can address this crisis at the same time we are getting properties, other properties back on the tax rolls.
Candidate Keding.
I actually started to look at this. And I'm going to use the spreadsheet solution. How easy is that? You know, I used to program computers, and I know how to use Excel. And I used to title search, and I know how to look up properties. And guess what I did? I dug into it. Margot, you'd appreciate this. You dig into things. When Margaret's council president, I'm going to tell you, you better dot those I's and you better cross those T's, because she'll catch you. She'll catch you, Joe. I'm just telling you. Okay, so I created a spreadsheet. I dug into it. It's a little, you know, so I'm not here only 4 years, but when I look and do the analysis and I see, you know, how the properties and lots were changed, and, you know, it's quite a big, you know, so any problem, you dig in and you look at it, and the spreadsheet can be a wonderful tool, and I've unfortunately only got like 25% through the properties because it all takes work, and I'll do the work.
Candidate Ferris, would you like a rebuttal?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to grab this question because I wrote it really poorly, so I'm kind of rewriting it as I'm speaking. Hudson is 2.3 square miles. That's it. It has 2 cannabis dispensaries on Warren Street and a third approved for Columbia Street in May. Will you do anything to curb or promote dispensaries opening in Hudson? And that goes to candidate Keding.
You mean like when they ask for, like, what's called exceptions to the rules, to the laws?
No, just there are going to be 3. Do you want more in Hudson?
That's not up to me.
Curb it?
That's not up to me. I'm going to let the free market be the free market. I know there's issues with, was it 2,500 feet? You know, from 2,000 from one dispensary to another, or schools. I mean, why do we have to, like, second guess ourselves all the time? There's already stuff in place. Just follow what you set up, unless it's that wrong. I mean, I'm not the God here. It's not, I'm not the king. You all are the kings. And you need to realize you're the kings, and you've abdicated your thrones. Now I'm tossing it out, and I'm hurling the gauntlet down, because society at large has abdicated its heartfelt consciousness. And that's the only reason that we're getting steamrolled over and over and over again by those forces that want to rule over other people.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris.
Yeah, my worry is we don't want to oversaturate the market. These are 3 small businesses that have put a lot of time, effort, and money. So I would be very hesitant to see a 4th open up, because I know there are others in Greenport as well. So we want to protect our small businesses as much as possible. But again, I think this is something where the data, you know, you have to look at the data to make sure that it actually is a reasonable decision to say we stop at 3, or maybe we can do 1 more. And I'm sorry, I need to ask, who are these forces?
You don't know? That's the problem.
Thank you.
Would you like a rebuttal, Candidate Keding?
Who are these forces? Well, first of all, let's talk about you. What you are. You're a spiritual being. No? You're not a spiritual being? You have a heart. And when you stand up as a spiritual being with a heart against, we'll just call them advantagists. You want a list I mean, maybe we can sit down and have coffee sometime, and, we can have a longer discussion, but we don't have time right now well, the United States is probably one of the worst offenders in terms of war. I mean, do we stand for war? I'm a product of the 60s. I'm not into war. And yet, what happens over and over and over again? And I'm going to call you out. It's not about me. This is not about me. You just laid down and let everything steamroll over you.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris. Property tax collection in the city has been an issue in Hudson. While the city has begun the process of collecting residents are behind in taxes, what will you do to ensure longtime residents who have fallen behind on their taxes are not displaced?
Yeah, I think this is an important question. There's two stories when it comes to the issue of property taxes. First is the city not doing the job that it should be in terms of collecting what is owed. And, when the list came out, there were, if not a half dozen, maybe 7 or 8 properties that were in 6 figures, which is simply unacceptable. Then there's the second story, the one that you allude to, about people who may be falling behind because they're on fixed incomes, or they live in properties that they have been in for decades, and the older a property is, sometimes the more maintenance it requires. And that's where it's really critical to get to these families and these individuals as soon as possible, because once you start hitting the penalties and the interest rates on those penalties, you are creating a cycle where it's just harder and harder and harder. So this is about being proactive, about both in terms of people who owe sizable amounts, but also working with people who we want to make sure can stay in their homes.
Thank you.
Candidate Ketting.
Yes. So there's been some changes to try and make it a little easier. I mean, and Randall Martin was behind this, and who else was he working with? It's just not coming off the top of my head. Heather, they've been Campbell. So they were changing the amount down. I think it was 25% down and pay over a certain number of years to make up your backlog. It's really kind of strange, because here's an area where you're constrained by state law and the way that the taxes have to be paid. I mean, you have to pay the most recent taxes first before you can get to the backlog. Now, when I was a Treasury Secretary, we always paid the oldest bills first. That was policy. But someone who falls behind now has to pay the current bill before they can pay the older bill. And that's not up to the city. There's a lot of these problems that are, again, not the city's doing. But when we can, thank you, but when you want to sit down and have coffee, I'll have a discussion with you about these other forces, like the state, the New York State equalization law. And you know what happens? These corporations, these big players, these lobbyists, these NGOs, and, these people like Hunger Solutions that, profess to do good, they actually get everybody into their back pocket.
Thank you.
Would you like a rebuttal?
What do I have to rebut? I'm good, thank you.
Candidate Ketting. Children from the Hudson City School District, not necessarily from the city, use the Hudson Youth Center. Will you allow those students to continue using the center?
Certainly. Why not? The funny thing is, a lot of our services don't get used. I mean, I was driving down here with a person whose children were being pulled into like one of these things, and they don't have they're being paid to do certain things, and they don't have people to deliver the services to. It's kind of an odd problem. But we're out and about, Joe. Yeah, you are out and about. I will say that, but I talk to more people maybe than you do. So when you see these problems, they exist, and you got to be real. Yeah. I'll leave it there.
Candidate Ferris.
Yeah, I wish I could go back to the question that Mary asked about something that we agree on. I agree 100% that, the children should still be able to use that facility, if they live outside Hudson.
Candidate Ferris. Will you
Do you
seek
want a rebuttal?
No. No, Joe's right. When someone's right, you acknowledge they're right.
Will you seek reimbursement from other municipalities and/or the county for the outside use of the youth center? Candidate Ferris.
I think it's something we should look at. I think, in many ways, the city isn't getting its fair share from the county, and I think that the way to do that, to make progress in that, is to have a city hall that engages with our county supervisors here in the city. I mean, again, I go back to 11 Warren. If we're not in touch about those issues, we're not going to be in touch about the smaller things, like if we're going to get reimbursed if other communities' children are using our facilities. I think the one thing I would not do is make those children pay.
Thank you.
Candidate Ketting.
You're right, Joe.
Thank you.
Yeah. We can agree. I like Joe. I actually made a point to get to know him before the primary, right?
Yeah.
I won't use this opportunity to do anything that might not be nice. But that's an interesting point, reimbursements and fairness. And so I would have to look at this. But, that same point came up with the EMS. So the EMS funding, so they're looking for significantly more funding. You see, I go to these meetings, so I'm aware of these issues. So was it 200,000 they want? Is that up from 75? Is that accurate, Margaret? Something like that. Margaret wants answers to questions. So in terms of who's paying, so EMS services a large area, not just Hudson. But I think EMS is looking for the lion's share of the increases from Hudson. We have the hospital here. So now to actually figure out what's fair, you got to figure it out, right? So the same thing with the youth center.
Thank you.
Candidate Ketting. Data has indicated that the Hudson River is rising due to climate change, which could adversely affect the city's waterfront. Do you believe in climate change? If so, please explain. If not, why don't you believe in climate change when the science backs it?
I hate when they say when the science backs it, and then they don't produce the science. Joe, I'm not going to say it, but he's inviting me to go somewhere we kind of agreed we weren't going to go. So when you talk about science, I'm going to use very broad general concepts here out of my respect for you. These science people are part of the problem. Joe, I don't know how to do this without, they falsify information, they fake studies, some of these science people are behind some of the biggest lawsuits. So when you say the science, it's again, you got to dig in, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, a few things. First, I think as my answer about green infrastructure earlier indicated, I do believe that in climate change and rising sea levels, and that there is a need to take action. I feel like we're probably getting close to the end of this debate, and I think there's been a lot of fun, there's been some laughters, but this response is a clear line of indication of the two options on the ballot tonight who are here. Science is science. My opponent said, "Where's the studies?" and then goes on to say that the studies are fake. That is not the type of leadership we need in City Hall. That is not the type of leadership Hudson needs, and that is why I'm asking for your vote.
Would you like a rebuttal, Candidate Ketting?
Listen, if you buy that, vote for Joe. If you actually buy that, Joe can have vote for Joe, and then live with what you live with. Now, I've been differentiated from the very beginning, and I haven't lied to you. I said that I was going to be non-conventional in the most auspicious manner possible. If you need and want conventional, there certainly exists an abundance of the same old story candidates. Call me a fool, still I believe in the power of the people. I'm asking you, lift up your power, lift up your heart. That's what will overcome the oppression. And it is an oppression, whether you realize it or not.
Candidate Ferris, where do you stand on the push to change the city charter to having an appointed city manager, which will weaken the mayor's position?
Yeah, I've been clear from the beginning that I oppose that. I do think that one of the important things that any incoming mayor should do is to work on creating a charter revision commission, and I'm excited for the opportunity to do that with Council President Morris and the new board, the new council in the coming year.
Candidate Ketting.
Yeah, I'm glad Joe's excited. Yeah, you know, at first I was reluctant to get involved in this whole charter change thing because I think it was bred out of ill will. I think there was just animus to the existing mayor, and I think the changes that were offered just were wrong. They were actually, what's the word, Joe? I mean, the changes they did were just to undermine Kamal. And if you want to change the charter, a wholesale review, there's, I mean, I started to undertake that. You know, how many balls can you keep rolling at once? So initially, I'll just make sure that everything's running smoothly, okay, and that there's, you know, what you want to get done is done and not upset the apple cart, because I think if you bring in somebody new and you try and redesign everything and reconfigure, you're just not admitting that the city's doing fairly well to begin with. Now, the charter, yeah, that's a major undertaking, you know, and I wouldn't mind just doing it all by myself and just like as a project, just what would I do? And then submitting that. I don't think I have enough bandwidth to do that, but Peter, I think that would be interesting. You want to sit down and just like, you know, hunker down and let's just, what would you do? It's a job. You got to do the work. And how much can you undertake? I do the work. I've always done the work. I'm a workaholic. I'm done. I'll talk more about how my work ethic is.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris.
I'll just take this opportunity to share a little bit about my philosophy about governing. The candidate Ketting mentioned animus. My door is always going to be open, and until proven otherwise, I believe that everyone that I'm engaging with is engaging in good faith. So that's going to be fundamental and foundational to how I run my office.
Thank you.
Would you like a rebuttal, Candidate Ketting?
I agree with you entirely. I've always had an open door policy. Always. Now, when I turned 16 and I first could get my working papers, I took a job unloading the newspaper truck. It was like 6,000 newspapers a day, and it was like 200 or 100 bundles, and I would unload the newspaper truck 5 days a week before high school. That's what I did. That's how I work. I get my hands dirty. I get in the mix. I delivered 1 million newspapers by the time I was 22.
Thank
And
you.
I've always worked.
Thank you.
Candidate Ferris. Hudson is the home to the only hospital in Columbia and Greene counties. Columbia Memorial Health is dealing with a severe shortage of employees. What will you do as mayor to draw people to the city to work in the hospital?
Yeah, it's housing. It's affordability. It's the issue that I've heard from, people at the hospital, people in the fire department, stores, bars, restaurants. It's about having a sense of urgency in terms of the housing crisis that we are facing, because it is creating job shortages at hospitals. It's creating open spots at the volunteer fire department. It is so that the stores and shops and restaurants that we rely on to get the tourism revenue are struggling to get people to stay. It's about housing. That's what it comes down to, full stop.
Thank you.
Candidate Ketting.
Yes, housing. We know about housing, but it's not just housing. So the employees at CMH are taking employment elsewhere, because they get paid more. Now, the union came in and the council supported a resolution supporting the union in their efforts to improve conditions for the workers. But that's a resolution. I mean, who thinks that the city has say over everything? We're not kings as a city. They had the no kings, but now we're supposed to say that we're kings and we can tell the hospital what to do? Please. So when it comes to the hospital, that's the hospital, and that's the workers, and yeah.
Thank you.
Would you like a rebuttal?
No, thanks.
Okay, we're running out of time, so we're going to go to closing statements. Candidate Ferris will present his first.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, great. First off, thank you to everyone who attended, everyone who's watching at home, to candidate Ketting, and to the reporters at the Register Star. This has been an informative, robust 90 minutes of debate here at the auditorium. I'm running on 3 key issues here. First, bringing competence back to City Hall. For too long, the nuts and bolts of running a city government, the day-to-day stuff, is not being taken care of. The second is communication. It is about being engaged with the community. It is about answering questions, and that is why I would hold town halls that I would attend in each ward. I would have open office hours, and I would have a regularly scheduled newsletter so that people know what's going on. I know what their concerns are, and especially having open office hours, because not everyone has the time or resources to spend an evening or are comfortable sharing their concerns. I also have a vision for the city. It's about engaging our affordable housing crisis with a sense of urgency that's been lacking, and that's by bringing a city planner on board. It is also by tackling our safety issues that we are facing at our streets intersections. It is unacceptable to me that every intersection around the library does not have painted crosswalks. The days of those types of oversights will be over when I'm mayor. Early voting starts this Saturday. Election Day is November 4th. I hope I have earned your vote, and regardless, please get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Kenning, you have 2 minutes.
I think you people are marvelous. I love you. I love Hudson. I think this is like an incredible place. There's art here like you wouldn't believe. It's beautiful. I'm just opening my eyes up to the wonder. Now, in terms of being here, I want to thank you. I want to thank the city of Hudson. I want to thank my mom. I want to thank my dad for the things they instilled in me. Now, in terms of I'm doing this, I didn't have to do this. This became a calling. And all of a sudden, I found myself wrapped up in this activity, collecting signatures, right? So it's kind of the thing, right? Once you start collecting signatures and then, well, I got enough to be a Republican. Well, that was easy. I was only 55, but, there's a stigma. We label people. And they don't really get to know them. And then because you're this, you're no good. Stop labeling. Stop labeling. It's not nice. It's not fair. It's not honest. So, it's you guys. The world needs to come up and start being real with themselves and find their essence, their natural state, who they are, what they are. We're spiritual beings. And when we forget that and we let that get steamrolled over so other people can take advantage, that's when we lose. When we lose our basic nature, and then become and are not what we are capable of. So I'm going to give away 10 copies of the Celestine Prophecy. So anyone that wants this, I'm going to leave them on the stage here. Okay, you're welcome to take them. I hope you use them. If you want, I'll sign it. Anyone that brings me a chronogram from September before the election, I will sign and number it. I gave Joe number 16. Okay, and I'm saving number 17 for Kamal. So Kamal has refused. He declined my signature of, he declined, Joe.
Thank you.
So,
You're out.
am I got time or I'm done?
No, you're done.
I'm done.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, I love you guys.
I want to thank the candidates for debating today. I want to thank my coworkers for doing what they did, and the people who live streamed for us, Lance Wheeler and Ryan. And thank you.